feel good today. What's up, everybody? Welcome in to the Early Edge in our NFL Week 2 extravaganza. Our apologies. We're having some serious tech issues on the morning show today and again, but we are on the air and we are live. And this is the second of 3 shows today. We're here at noon every single week. 8 1 o'clock games, 2 at 4:05. 2 at 4:25. All of our odds are presented by our new friends, our new partners. Great to have the king of all sports books, BetMGM, on board, and we are powered, as always, by the almighty SportsLine, the best value in all sports betting, and it's not close. I'm going to tell you how you can be a part of both of those things throughout the show. Now, tonight, do not forget primetime early edge counting down to the Dolphins and the Pats Sunday Night Football, and Monday night special start time, 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on this channel. For 2 Monday night games, the Saints and the Panthers, the Browns and the Steelers. We will go 6 wide for both of those shows. But when duty calls, just because we might have a small crew does not mean, as Todd says, we have the best show in the business. You know him. You love him. I got the best prop better in the universe. We call him Proppy 3 times. PropStarz. Call him whatever you want. He's on our team. Proppy, good afternoon. Are you ready for week 2?
Coach, I was born ready for week 2. I could not be more fired up. Good morning, AB. Love this slate of games. A ton of terrific matchup. Very interesting storylines. Cannot wait to break these games down.
And Jason said, so ready for today's show, Coach. Let's get it. AB, are you ready for today's show?
Coach, we're born ready for this. Let's go. And especially week 2 after an amazing week of college football yesterday. Again, another profitable day for the show. But you know what? We'll speak of it another day. This is Business Sunday right here.
Business Sunday. I'm hearing Coach Prime hangover late last night, 2 a.m. The Colorado Buffaloes getting it done. Amazing story in college football. But as AB's, that's college football. This is the NFL. So, gentlemen, we've got less than 60 minutes to break down 12 different games today. And AB, I'm coming to you first because you have an official pick in this game. And this was my TikTok lock of the week presented by BetMGM. Ravens, Bengals, Cincinnati, they are favored, AB, by more points than they scored in week 1. 3.5. They scored 3 in week 1. Ravens systematically took apart the Texans 25-9. Where are we going today?
Yeah, we're going to go Lamar Jackson here, no fly zone. He's throwing a pick. And look, let me apologize now. We don't have our normal wonderful lower third banners because it is a mess in our program that we use. So no fault of anybody. But yeah, we don't have our lovely. We'll have it tonight, though. But we're going with Lamar Jackson here. He's going to throw a pick. And I'll tell you why. Look, they looked good, the Ravens did, in week 1. Didn't really have to use Lamar's arm at all. They ran the football. That being said, they lost a running back. J.K. Dobbins gone. The Bengals are going to play furious after their week 1 loss. This is going to be a great AFC North matchup. Yeah, Lamar's putting one in the air today.
All right, so 1 interception there. It doesn't mean they still can't cover the +3. But I said on TikTok, Proppy, that with all the new toys, the Zay Flowers, the OBJs, and now we lose Dobbins, that the Ravens and their new offense would be dangerous. Do you still like them? And what does the lab tell you from a prop perspective?
Yeah, very intriguing matchup. I think both of these offenses could be very high scoring. Obviously, not a surprise when we're talking about Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. Mark Andrews will be returning to the field after that brief 1-game hiatus to start the season. That will have a massive impact for the Ravens offense, One of the best tight ends in the NFL will really take a lot of pressure off of Lamar Jackson having his security blanket back. So I think Mark Andrews is set to make a big impact right out the gate. Certainly encouraged with the practice participation. Practiced in full on Friday, gotten 3 limited practices prior to that. So very much looking forward to that. And then I just think this is a spot that the Bengals can really produce a lot of yards. I think this is a good spot for Joe Burrow and company. I like Jamar Chase to potentially have a triple-digit receiving game today. So I think this Bengals offense can take advantage of an undermanned Baltimore Ravens secondary.
Sounds like we're on opposite sides of the fence. You like the Bengals today. I like the Ravens, but that's why you watch us live. You listen to the information and use it for yourself. By the way, Joshua said AB has low-key been killing it in the NFL and college football. I don't think it's all that low-key. I think it's pretty much out there on Front Street that the man is absolutely crushing.
High-key, Coach, high-key.
Hey, but you know what? Hey, we just appreciate the love. Joshua is my dude. He's always been. We're chopping it up, breaking it down every single game, every single week. So, Joshua, man, salute, sir.
We can't do without all of you. That's for damn sure. Mike says, smash that like button for me. Please do that for me. Take down the chat, hit the like button, put it right back up, and keep on chatting away. Proppy, let's go to you for game number 2, the Bears and the Bucs. Now, the Bears gave up 38 to the Packers in week number 1. The Bucs went on the road, and they got it done. It wasn't pretty, but they got it done, so they are 1-0. EC is on DJ Moore over 43.5 receiving yards. Uncle Dave, DJ Moore over 3.5 catches. The reason I give these out on this show, so you all know how the lines change or don't change from our prop show on Friday. But Proppy, you have another play from this game from a star who wanted his money. He's not getting it, and sometimes when he's ticked off, he plays his best. Who am I talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about one of the most underrated, consistent wide receivers in the history of the NFL. The only wide receiver, I believe, to begin his career with 8 consecutive 1,000-yard campaigns. That is Mike Evans. We're going over 51.5 receiving yards. I was very encouraged in week 1. Baker Mayfield looked very comfortable throwing the ball to Mike Evans. He also out-targeted Chris Godwin, had nearly a 30% target share in this offense. It was a very condensed target distribution between Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Another very advantageous matchup against the Bears secondary. That's absolutely awful. We saw how putrid the Bucs rushing offense was, just completely inefficient. That's carried over from last year, where they were the worst rushing offense in the league, averaging only 75 rushing yards per game. Not much better week 1 against the Vikings. I think they're going to have to throw the ball in this matchup. Has a little sneaky shootout potential as well. I just like Mike Evans to continue to be the focal point of this passing game, and there's going to be some passing volume in this matchup, in my opinion. So love Mike Evans over 51.5 receiving yards today, Coach.
And they have a very, very confident quarterback in Baker Mayfield, who is saying all the right things right now. So until he goes left, let's believe in what they're doing down there in Tampa. Now, AB, when we talk about this game, Justin Fields and his rushing total, if you go to SportsLine, there's about 8-10 picks there right in that game. One of those, and I can't remember the capper, Justin Fields rushing, I think it's around 55 or so. If the Bears are going to be successful, Justin Fields has got to play great today, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? And I think that that's an excellent play. And especially anybody out there that are looking at props, take a look at how teams did in week 1, specifically teams that lost, okay? And kind of lost big. The Bears lost 38-20 to the Packers. And you know what? Well, the reason that I bring that up is because when you go from week 1 to week 2, and you see this in college all the time, that you get back to the basics and you get back to what you do well and what you know and understand. And Justin Fields, I'm not saying he's a running quarterback. We're not saying that at all. He's a quarterback, right? But he knows that he has legs and excels with that. So if there's ever a time to play his rushing yards, absolutely today. That's a great call.
Last year, he had games of 180, 170. This guy is legit a different kind of beast at quarterback from an athletic standpoint. Probably back to you real quick. Big Cheesy says Godwin is going to have a game today. Do you agree?
I prefer Mike Evans here. Again, after week 1, it seemed a lot more comfortable, a lot more continuity between Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield. I just don't know how much. Godwin operates a lot closer to the line of scrimmage. I think Baker's going to attack down the field a little bit. I don't think stylistically they're necessarily the best fit together, but at the same time, Godwin did have a pretty significant target share. There's not a lot of competition for targets outside of Godwin and Mike Evans, so certainly could have a big game.
God, Tom Brady seems so long ago, doesn't he?
It
so
does. It feels like forever ago, right? Like,
man.
I know.
Yeah, absolutely bananas. By the way, the Pats back home tonight, they honored him last week, and it was very, very emotional. Now, this next game, very, very fascinating, guys. And both of you have a best bet in this game. Now, Uncle Dave's on Luke Musgrave, over 31.5 receiving yards. Sia is on the Falcons on the money line. This one's been hovering around 2.5. Now it's gone to 3. Total at 40. The Packers scored 38 against Chicago. The Falcons beat the Panthers, but Desmond Ridder didn't throw anything downfield. That concerns me quite a bit. So, AB, let's start with you. What do you like in this game?
The no-fly zone is open for Jordan Love today. First off, I like this Falcons team, and I've listened to Prop talk about it in regards to the young offensive weapons that they have. And we're not saying that, this is a Super Bowl team or anything like that, but they've got nice pieces. And the fact that the Packers are coming off that big win against the Chicago Bears, but the run game, they don't have, their normal dudes in there, there's going to be a difference in the look in this Matt LaFleur offense, and Jordan Love is going to have to do it with his arm and in the air, especially if Atlanta gets a lead early in this game. So I think that they do, and I think Love's probably going to have to put the ball in the air a little bit more than what him and the team would want. So that's usually a disaster for a young kid. So yeah, Jordan Love interception. It's going down today.
If the no-fly zone is in effect, you better pay attention, especially for a brand-new quarterback just kind of finding his feet. But on the flip side, probably, Kirby says, who needs to throw it downfield when you can run over everybody? I guess that's true. But last year, I remember you and I doing several shows, and you kept talking about Desmond Ridder and how good you thought he was going to be. Talk a little bit about that, but also I know you have a best bet in this game as well.
Yeah, this is a fascinating matchup between two very interesting teams. Young, arrows pointed in the right direction, in my opinion. I was high on Desmond Ridder. Unfortunately, I think didn't translate the way I thought he would necessarily in the NFL. He's been fairly efficient, hasn't made any mistakes really, but really not taking very many chances at all, just not throwing the ball downfield. The Atlanta Falcons are also one of the most run-heavy offenses in the NFL, which I expect to continue to be a trend when you're talking about Bijan Robinson, one of the best young running back prospects in NFL history. I expect him to have a significant workload today, splitting carries in that backfield with Tyler Algier. But yeah, I like to go over to a Falcons receiver that we're going to fade. That's Mac Hollins, longest reception, under 15.5 yards. Again, this is a very low volume passing offense from Atlanta. Desmond Ridder is just not taking chances down the field. The Falcons are running the ball as much as any team in football. That's going to result in just a couple of targets at best for Mac Hollins. And I just do not think he's going to be running that many routes down the field. So I'm going to fade him there. But yeah, this is a fascinating matchup on Green Bay's side of things. AB mentioned no Aaron Jones today. Pretty significant injury for Green Bay. Also operating without their top wide receiver in Christian Watson. So yeah, I actually like this spot for the Falcons. I was very impressed with their week 1 performance. They had a nice defensive effort, which was quietly where they invested a lot of resources in the offseason, bringing on a lot of free agents to that defense. Look good week 1. I think they can have success in week 2. I think Jordan Love is potentially a regression candidate, potentially offers an opportunity to fade him, which is an interesting way to look at this game.
You know, we talk about on the show all the time, use the information for today or maybe into the future. This game feels like an into the future type of game. Watch it, take it in, see how the players play. Because the one thing that a lot of shows do, and every now and then we do it as well, we go back to last year as if last year was the team that's playing today.
Coach, can I mention one thing?
Yeah.
Something fascinating about this game, this Packers and Falcons game.
Yeah.
You're looking at the last 2 offensive coordinators for the Tennessee Titans, and Matt LaFleur and Arthur Smith, that are now the head coaches on both teams, and they were both there together where Arthur Smith was under Matt LaFleur and Mike Vrabel. So these two guys know each other unbelievably well.
That's a great nugget. Proppy, go.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to hit on really quickly is Drake London's usage. Week 1, put up a goose egg. Very disappointed for anyone who was backing Drake London via props or owned him in fantasy. 8th overall pick, had a very good rookie season last year. I expect a little bit of squeaky wheel treatment today. We know Desmond Ridder's not going to throw the ball a lot, but this is a tough matchup. The Packers have a very good pass defense. They have a very good corner in Jair Alexander, who I expect to shadow Drake London. So it'll be interesting to see if they're going to force London targets, considering it's a very difficult matchup for him.
Oh, Alexander is tough. By the way, when Proppy says squeaky wheel, what he means by that is it's usually a big-time receiver like an A.J. Brown, for example, last week, who goes up and just complains to Jalen Hurts. And then the next week, they go out of their way to feed him the football to get him happy. That's what Proppy means by squeaky wheel. All right, 3 games down, still 5 more early ones and 4 more at 4. So we're speeding this thing up, but not before we hear from one of our incredible partners.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
Anywhere, anytime, all the time. I love that new HQ promo. Absolutely love it. All right, guys, game number 4. And this has 2 of the 3 rookie quarterbacks that are starting at the beginning of the season. We're talking about the Colts and Anthony Richardson taking on the Texans in Houston. Texans laying 1, total 39.5 from our prop show. EC is on Anthony Richardson, over 38.5 rushing yards. That number's long gone. It's up north of 44 now. Uncle Dave's on Michael Pittman Jr., over 54.5 receiving yards. I encourage you to watch us live on Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. RJAB, let me come to you. He's on the Colts when it was 1.5. It's still around 1, so basically the number still exists. Do you agree with RJ that Colts are the play?
Yeah, and I'll say this. I don't have any official plays, so I won't take too terribly much of your time, but I agree in general with that. It's just going to be a fun game if you want to watch two young quarterbacks and two new head coaches go at it. You're going to kind of get to see a little bit of what the plan looks like for both of these quarterbacks moving forward. So, yep, no plays for me. I agree with RJ. Going to be not a game that means anything really to anybody across the league, but it'd be a fun little game to watch.
Every now and then I'll use the word yuck. And maybe this isn't a complete yuck game, Proppy, but I'm not super interested in watching it. But AB whet my appetite just a little bit. Maybe you can too.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of opportunities, as we like to say, in this matchup, Coach. I'm looking at Houston Texans. I think they're going to try to establish the run a lot more in this matchup. That game in Week 1 against Baltimore got out from under them very quickly. Baltimore's also a very stout run defense. I think they can have more success establishing the run. So I expect to see Dameon Pierce heavily involved in this game plan. The talk all offseason was he has a 3-down skill set and that he's going to be heavily featured. I think we might see that today. As far as the Colts are concerned, Anthony Richardson is a supreme athlete with just wild physical traits. Very much looking forward to see him. I think that rushing line is a good spot from EC. It should be a very interesting game between two very young teams. Both arrows pointed in the right direction, in my opinion.
Very, very good analysis from both of you. Let's hit on a couple, even though we're not in the game, because I want to make sure that guys that are here get their questions answered whenever possible. Let me come right back to you, probably. Bijan Robinson, they're asking about his catches at over 3.5, minus 115, and his yards don't have that number, however.
I'd lean over on the catches. I talk about this at nauseum, though. I'm not a fan of running back receiving props. They're very high variance, in my opinion. And what I mean by that, it's difficult to find an edge on them, mainly because running backs aren't going to be the primary read for a quarterback. It's going to be a third or fourth progression, a check down. So it's hard to account for that when there's not design plays for them. The numbers are also very low. So on paper, they're very attractive, but it's, again, very hard to find a consistent edge on running back receiving props because there's just not a focal point of the game plan. That being said, I would lean over, but 4 receptions is a lot in my opinion. I think Bijan's going to get a lot of rushing work. That's the way I'm choosing to attack it. If you're a SportsLine subscriber, I like over 55.5 rushing yards. That number is too low. I expect more of an even distribution of carries between him and Tyler Algier today.
All right, very good. Listen to him. We talk about all the time, educate and entertain. That's what this show is truly all about. You got to have the knowledge. And if there's one thing I've learned from Proppy the last 2 years that we've worked together, there's a lot more ways for unders to come in than over. We love to play overs, but unders are normally the play most of the time, and that's reverse of what our brain and our hearts want to do. So listen to my man when he's just ripping it up. Now, speaking of ripping it up, everybody knows that watches the Early Edge and part of the Early Edge universe where my fandom lies. And I will never apologize for being a Kansas City Chiefs fan. But we've got a little drama in old KC. We're 0-1 going on the road to Jacksonville, a playoff team, and we're favored on the road. 3.5 has been the number. I personally have already bought it down to 2.5. I bought the point. Total is 50.5, and we have a ton of plays from the crew on this game. But AB, why don't we start with you? The Maestro is on the Chiefs when it was -3, and that's kind of the number I think you should buy it down to at the bare minimum. But on the other side, you like Trevor Lawrence to do what?
To throw a pick, my dude. The no-fly zone is open for Trevor here as well. Now, understand, nothing negative against the Jaguars, nothing negative against Trevor, right? Like the kid. They had a nice comeback win in Week 1 over Indianapolis, and I think that they play fairly well today. We're going to see Travis Kelce back, I believe, Coach, for Kansas City today. Mm-hmm. And I think that you're going to see a Chiefs offense and defense, quite frankly, that is focused. Let me go ahead and block this bot here, get rid of him. Yeah, and I think you're going to see a focused Kansas City Chiefs team right this ship and try to get out of here 1-1 on the year. I think that the Chiefs play with a lead, and you're going to see Trevor throw just a few more, passes than he normally does. Not a good recipe. Chiefs defense will pick him off at least once.
I agree. And Chris Jones on the defensive side, he signed his new contract. He'll be
they
back.
paid him quick, didn't they?
Very, very quick. Oh, we didn't get to the quarterback last week? Yeah, let's bring in Chris Jones, who was sitting in a skybox for game number 1 in the stadium. So, Proppies, I come to you. With Kelsey back, as AB just said, normally his numbers have historically been around 7.5, been around 70 to 80 yards, but we really don't know how healthy the knee is, if there's limitations on him. So, in my heart, I feel like we should stay away from the Kelsey props. But what do you think?
Yeah, I honestly can't imagine they'd risk Travis Kelce in week 2 if they didn't feel that he was at least pretty close to 100%. That being said, it was ugly week 1 for these Chiefs pass catchers. Just no real continuity between Patrick Mahomes and any of his receivers. So they need Kelce badly. They also need a second pass catcher to step up and take some pressure off of this offense, off of Mahomes, off of Travis Kelce, because they will bracket quite a bit of coverage in the way of Kelce. So very interested to see who steps up. Could it be the rookie, Rashee Rice? He looked to me like the most consistent wide receiver, but also very inexperienced. And rookies tend to not get a lot of playing time under Andy Reid either. So I'm very interested in this matchup. Also, Jacksonville side of thing, I thought Trevor Lawrence looked phenomenal week 1. I think he's a viable, legitimate MVP candidate. He has an alpha wide receiver 1 in Calvin Ridley, who showed out with the triple-digit game, was very impressive. So they cannot take this Jacksonville Jaguars offense lightly. I think this game is going to combine for quite a few points. Lots of yards, should be a good spot for quite a few props as well.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. By the way, Kelce is 79.5 is his number for yards, 6.5 for the catches. Either one of those numbers, Proppy. And then I got one for you, AB. Either one of those you like?
I think they're both efficient. It'd be a slight lean to the receptions because I do think he's going to receive a lot of volume. I think he ultimately goes over both numbers, especially if Jacksonville is able to push the game and kind of push the tempo a little bit as well.
Which leads into my next question, AB, for you. Mahomes over 2.5 passing touchdowns is plus 160.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Look, I think that Travis Kelce, they're almost going to use him as a de facto type of run game, in the sense that it's going to be very short yardage passing, and it's going to be leading more to completions than it will be yardage. Number 2, 2.5 passing touchdowns. Was that the question?
Yes.
That's
plus
a lot, man. Yeah, that's a lot. I think that Kansas City is going to look to run the ball every opportunity that they can run the ball, and you would essentially need everything to go perfect to get 3 passing touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would look elsewhere. Like, I'm not saying it can't happen. Like, they're going to score, but you just need every perfect scenario, and there's so many more ways this could come under than it will over.
Oh, a great prop better.
I learned that from someone. Someone smart. I don't know.
Somebody. By the way, Tom says Trevor Lawrence pass attempts 35.5. Any opinions on that? Seems low, and probably I'll come right back to you, because if it's going to be a shootout, 35.5 seems like we should go over that number.
Yeah, I tend to lean over on that number for sure. I do think that Lawrence can have an efficient game, which might minimize some of his attempts, and I might look to potentially attack him from a yard standpoint. But yeah, I would definitely lean over on that attempts line. I do think it's playable at that number.
And his yardage real quick, just so we can hit on it. Boy, all the books have changed how they do things. All right, 262.5 is the yards, minus 123.
Yeah, I like the over there personally. I think the Chiefs are going to force them into a high passing game environment. We know both teams are quick to abandon the run, and as a result of that, you get in a ton of volume, and these are both very explosive offenses that can easily push each other. So I think a lot of props are going to go over in this game, and that's a pretty good one to look at.
And I love betting it live on the show, courtesy of my man Proppy. And by the way, a few of you in the chat reminded us, it is Patrick Mahomes' birthday. The last time he played on his birthday, 2016, college. He threw for over 400 yards that day. Something to think about. All
He's pretty good, Coach.
What's that?
He's pretty good, Coach.
He's not bad, right?
Yeah, it's not bad. Bright future for him.
Yeah, I think he'll be okay. Now, the other team that people thought would be really, really good in the AFC West also lost in week 1 at home to the Miami Dolphins, and I'm talking about the Chargers. So now they have to go on the road, and they're favored today. In your city, AB, Tennessee, the Titans. So I'm going to start with you, big boy. The total is 45.5. Chargers at 2.5. Do you like that number, or do you know something that we don't know?
Yeah, I'll say this. The Chargers without Austin Eckler, the offense is going to look a little bit different. You're going to see Herbert probably put up a few more pass attempts than he normally does. I think that would be a prop bet to look at. I wanted to play Ryan Tannehill interceptions here because, look, we've said it all summer. This is one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. This is one of the worst wide receiver corps in the NFL. The Chargers are going to stack the box to stop Derrick Henry. So I wanted to play Ryan Tannehill, but the price is too high. It's too high. They didn't want to do it. I'll say this. The Titans defense is for real. It's legit. This is going to be kind of an ugly game. Mike Vrabel's going to want to muddy this thing up as much as possible. If you're looking for a bunch of props, I would look elsewhere. This could be a weird game.
Probably. Do you agree with that assessment?
To a certain extent, I know AB definitely knows his Titans, but I personally think that Justin Herbert's going to throw the ball a ton in this game.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if you're going to look for props, I didn't mean to just I agree with him. Look to the Chargers side. Don't look at the Tennessee side.
Yeah, no, I would agree with AB there for sure. But yeah, I think this is a great spot for Justin Herbert. For one, the Titans they're a pass funnel. It's a byproduct because their run defense is very strong. It invites teams to pass on them. We know the Chargers are as pass happy as any offense in the league. AB mentioned no Austin Eckler today. I think we're going to really see, I think it's going to be difficult for the Chargers to establish the run with Josh Kelly. I really think that week 1 performance where they ran for 200 yards versus Miami was a complete outlier. We're going to see the Chargers air the ball out a ton. So I like Justin Herbert's props quite a bit. I think his passing yards is between 283 and 286. I love that. I think he's going to easily sail north of 300 passing yards against this defense. We saw week 1 what Derek Carr did, going for over 300 yards. Herbert has a ton of weapons at wide receiver, at tight end, has pass catchers everywhere, inside, outside. So, yeah, I think Herbert is going to sling the football today. Lots of passing volume from the Chargers side, and I like to sail north of 300 passing yards.
Coach. Yep. Oh, yeah. I was going to say, so you know how this is, if you're watching this game, here's something fun to watch. So, normally when a quarterback comes to the line, right, and he points out the Mike, right, the middle linebacker.
Yep.
No, they're pointing out Kevin Byard in the secondary because they're going to point out the safety because there are injuries to this Titans secondary at the cornerback position. Exactly what Props said. They're going to say, okay, where's Byard? Oh, he's over this side. Well, we're throwing it deep on this side, right? Like, it's going to be throwing it deep and then hitting tight ends, back, forth. Props nailed exactly what the Chargers are going to do. Watch that. It'll be fun to see just kind of that cat and mouse game.
Perfect. Now, probably let me come back to you. Let's do a little ping pong here quickly. If he's going to sling it, the chat's asking about the longest reception is 37.5 for Herbert. I know sometimes we attack that market. Normally AB does, but what do you think, Proppy?
Yeah, I tend to lean over. Again, it's like a numbers game, right? Like, as the more attempts you get, the more opportunities you have. He's got quite a few deep threats. You know about Mike Williams, Quentin Johnston, the rookie as well. Even their third receiver, Joshua Palmer, is very dynamic. You can't forget about Gerald Everett, Keenan Allen. There's just so many weapons on this Chargers offense everywhere. So, yeah, I like him to go over that for sure.
Hey, Coach, lastly, one quick thing, and I'll end it with his. In Nashville right now, all right, it's usually 6,000 degrees. It is 69 degrees, lightly clouded. Oh, it feels like Los Angeles and San Diego. I'm telling you, they're going to feel right at home. It's going to feel exactly how it does over there at SoFi. Yeah, Chargers could have themselves a day, man.
Probably go.
One last real quick point. Last week, rookie running back Tajay Sharp out-snapped Derrick Henry. Didn't out-touch him, obviously, but he out-snapped him. So that is something very interesting to keep an eye on in week 2 because they obviously have big plans for the rookie and want to keep getting him more and more involved.
I absolutely love it. You boys are the absolute very best. We are halfway home, 6 games down, 6 games to go. We have just passed the bottom of the hour. This is the Early Edge, your daily sports betting brand of record. All of our odds are powered by BetMGM, the king of all sports books. 2 more. But before I do that, I want to let all of you who are not BetMGM customers, I'm going to do you a solid right here, right now. If you sign up, all you got to do is bet $10. Doesn't matter if you win. Doesn't matter if you lose. We're going to throw $200 into your queue. and then you can do whatever you want with it. You got to play it, but you do whatever you want with it. That's what we're going to do for you, and we're actively working with BetMGM. We're just getting started. We have so many cool things with them as we move forward. So stay with us, and let's keep it positive. Speaking of positive, it was not a positive week for the Buffalo Bills. They go into Monday night. They're up 10 at halftime. Aaron Rodgers is out for the season with the Achilles, and yet they lose in overtime. Now, RJ from the Mega Previews on the Bills one is 8.5. It's actually come down to 7.5. EC's on James Cook over 12.5 receiving yards. It's now in the neighborhood of 16 or 17. And then, AB, let's start the discussion with you, because the way they played feels like today they need to unleash the hounds on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it's going to be bad for the old Raider Nation here, having to go across the country to a Buffalo team that, quite frankly, is probably going to play a little angry today. That's why we're playing Buffalo team total touchdowns over 3.5. They don't have to win the game, even though I think that they do. They don't have to cover the spread, even though I think that they do. They just have to score 4 touchdowns or more. I think that they're going to do that today. They're going to be about their business. So, yeah, play the Bills here.
Josh Allen, last week we played his rushing proppy, and it was 36.5, and he ran for 36. That was a tough one to swallow. But watching him after the game and how kind of in his feelings he was, how disappointed he was, and basically what he said, I'm very confident that he's going to take care of the ball a little bit better today. But also they're going to be aggressive and not just sit around like they did on Monday night and let the Jets come back. What are your thoughts?
I would agree, Coach. This is a stark contrast when looking at this Las Vegas Raiders defense compared to what Josh Allen faced in Week 1 versus a Jets secondary that's elite, that's as good as any defense in the NFL. This is a matchup where Josh Allen can have a ton of success. I expect him to be aggressive. I expect him to attack downfield. Really like this spot for Stephon Diggs. I like Gabriel Davis as well. I think both receivers are going to get plenty of work, plenty of opportunities to make big plays. This Raiders secondary leaves a lot to be desired. And as far as this Raiders offense is concerned, we saw Week 1, Jimmy G looked pretty good. He was fairly efficient. We saw just an absolutely monster target share for both Davante Adams and Jacoby Myers. They accounted for nearly 80% of Garoppolo's passing attempts. Now there is no Jacoby Myers. He is inactive. He's in the concussion protocol. So Davante Adams could be in line for an absolutely monster usage today. So if you're a SportsLine subscriber, you probably saw yesterday that I put out a Davante Adams prop that I like quite a bit.
Coach, did you teach him? Dude, this man is getting in plugs left and right.
I don't know who he's turned into, but I'm here for it. And I've already played the Davante Adams play as well. And as he just said, if you're a SportsLine member, but what if you're not? What if you're not?
What are you doing if you're not, Coach?
I don't know, but we're going to do them a solid right here, right now. Thank you, Proppy. If you sign up today, use the promo code COACH. I'll give you 60% off your first 3 months. Then after that, we're almost to the end of football season. We got basketball coming up, the new PGA Tour. We got you. Everything, articles, simulations, all my cappers. And you get it for 60% off. Download that QR code or go to sportsline.com/join. Now, one more 1 o'clock game we got to get to. Then we have 4 at 4, and then we're getting the hell out of Dodge. So, Seahawks and the Lions. Fascinating one, gentlemen. And Berg Bets earlier today is on the Lions minus the 4.5. The total is at 47. But probably we're going to start with you because you have 2 different props in this game that you like. Start us off.
Yeah, I am all in on the Jahmyr Gibbs bandwagon. Come aboard because it is going to be a wild and fun ride. If you have not seen this rookie running back, absolutely dynamic. His ability to accelerate and reach top speed is as impressive as any running back that I have ever seen. Reminds me of Chris Johnson, who I know AB knows well, having starred in Tennessee for those years where he went for over 2,000 rushing yards. In my opinion, Jahmyr Gibbs has that sort of potential. I like him to go over 12.5 for his longest rush, over 12.5 yards for his longest reception, playing both props. I actually played every Jahmyr Gibbs prop this week. All the numbers have sailed north since we gave this out on Friday. Had a very positive report today coming out of the Lions camp that they're going to get him more involved. It would be a complete disservice to Barry Sanders or anyone to football for that matter if they don't give the ball more to this kid because he is absolutely dynamic. Then on the other side of things, I'm going to fade Geno Smith. I just thought coming into the season while I'm high on the Seahawks team, Geno Smith just seemed like a real regression candidate to me. Watching him play over the final 1/3 of the season last year just looked more like the Geno Smith that we saw throughout the duration of his career. That was a career backup. I really think he played above expectations and almost above his head early for Seattle last season. Didn't look particularly good week 1. Now he's without both of his starting tackles. His left and right tackle are both out for this game. It's going to be a tough matchup against a pretty feisty Lions defense that has a good pass rush, and this defense played well against the Kansas City Chiefs in their season debut. So I think it's going to be tough sledding for Geno Smith. I like him to go under 257.5 passing yards. You can certainly still find this number. It's available right now as well.
The chat is saying what we always know. PropStarz absolutely killing it today. Now, AB, let me come over to you because the Lions, it seems like a lifetime ago that they beat the Chiefs on opening night in Kansas City and got the job done. Now they've had 10 days. Everybody telling them how good they are. Seattle gets ran by the Rams last week, and now the Lions are at home, and they're the toast of the league. Or are they? Your thoughts?
Coach, all right, Phil brought up an unbelievable point on our Thursday NFL kickoff show, the first one with the Chiefs and the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
He broke down something every bettor across the country needs to know of how the Lions go about winning games. They steal possessions away. They take possessions away from the other teams, specifically teams like the Chiefs, like the Seahawks, other good teams in the NFL. So essentially what they're doing is trying to get it in a vacuum and bring it down. If they're successful, everything on the Seahawks side, props-wise, will be down. Everything really on the Lions side, except for running the football, will likely also be down. So that's their game plan going in. So I have no official plays. It's going to be a fun game to watch. But if everything goes to how the Lions want it, bet Lions rushing props. That's what they want to do.
We have this great text thread that I wish we could show the entire audience at home. And whenever something hits, we text each other. There's like 20 people on it. When they had that fake punt against the Chiefs early in the game in their own side of the field, that was gutty, but it played
second
right.
Possession.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what they were going to do. They slowed the game completely down. The over was never in, and it was just like kind of pulling teeth. And that's how they want to play, to AB's point. All right.
Phil drilled it. He absolutely drilled it.
Right? Yep. And Phil will be a part of
an incredible call.
Right? He's been such a great addition to the Early Edge crew. He'll be a part, of course, primetime Early Edge tonight, Dolphins and the Pats. But we still have 4 more 4 o'clock games to get to, but not before we, what I like to call, cross-promote. AB?
It's time. The best Transformers yet. There you go. Is now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is going to be fun, man.
Now let's talk to your manifestation. Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Rated PG-13. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
I absolutely love Paramount Plus. By the way, Mike in the chat, I just got Geno under 262.5 at minus 115. That's shopping around, getting 5 yards of value. I got it at 257.5, just like the number today. You can still get some of these numbers, but my guys change the market. It's just what they do. All right, gentlemen, we got 4 games. We got to speed it up just a hair. So this game, we could just probably go through it. Nobody would care. Giants, Cardinals. Giants are favored by 4 after losing by 40. Explain that one to me. Total 39.5. RJ is on Darren Waller. Over 44.5 receiving yards, minus 120. AB, would you do anything in this game?
Nope. There's my analysis.
Proppy, let me come to you. I mean, this is a Cardinals team that dropped Colt McCoy right before the season for a guy who had 2 starts. And what's the quarterback's name? For
Josh Dobbs.
Oh, no.
Joshua Dobbs.
I was making
for the Giants. Excuse me. Sorry.
It's okay. The Giants were terrible last week. And they have a quarterback making north of $40 million. So when we look at this number 4, it's hard for my mind to wrap anything around it based off of what I saw a week ago. Your thoughts, Proppy?
Interesting matchup. I actually thought that the Cardinals, their defense played well in week one. They looked good against the Commanders. I think their defense could have success against this Giants team where their offensive line was in disarray. We saw this Cowboys front just absolutely dominated at the line of scrimmage. So I think the Giants can be competitive. I don't think this is a pushover spot like it necessarily appeared. Offensively for the Cardinals, it is going to be tough sledding. I do have a lot of confidence in Brian Daboll. So I think the Giants get back on track. I would not, however, consider this as soft as a matchup as it originally appeared. I do think the Cardinals will ultimately compete, play hard. So it could be tough for the Giants in this game.
And I'm so glad that you said that. It wasn't what we normally thought it was going to be, because our next game at 4:05 is exactly that, Proppy. The 49ers going on the road, laying 7 at a LA Rams team that shocked the world last week, went to Seattle and laid it on the Seahawks by 17. The 49ers look like the 49ers. Systematic offense and really tough defense. So, Proppy, let me come. No. I'm going to come to you first, AB, because Maestro, I would love for you to call out Larry Hartstein. He's on the 49ers minus the 8. I'm on the other side. What say you?
Yeah, look, I'll say this. I don't blame either of you. It's a good number, Coach, for you, and I certainly understand why Maestro or anyone else would want to ride the 49ers. They're a great football team. I would play the under. I think this is going to be a running the football game. This game could end in an hour and a half. Like I think that it's going to be the fastest moving game today in the NFL. It probably won't be exciting. There won't be too many highlight plays unless, McCaffrey breaks one off. It is going to be two teams running the football. So if I were playing anything, I'd look at the under.
What was that name you just said? I didn't hear you. What was the name? Christian
McCaffrey.
McCaffrey, because my man EC is on Christian McCaffrey over 55 or 65.5 rush yards, minus 110, because Proppy, he had a really good game last week. And I don't think we're ever going to play Brock Purdy's props because he's more of a game manager. But, man, do they have some weapons on that San Francisco side. But keep in mind, Matthew Stafford threw for over 340 yards a week ago as well. Talk to me.
Yeah, Matthew Stafford absolutely looked great, Coach. Was very impressed with that performance. And this 49ers team was phenomenal. They looked like to be in midseason form. To me, it really benefited having Brock Purdy appear in those 2 preseason games. The 49ers looked like a well-oiled machine. All phases were playing very well. Passing, running, special teams, defense, everything. But yeah, I'm very interested in the San Francisco offense. I was very, very impressed with Brandon Ayuk in week 1. Had 8 targets, turned that into 8 receptions for over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Talk about efficiency. Was second in the league on Sunday in yards per route run to only Tyreek Hill. He has quietly, or not quietly, if you watch this 49ers team, become Brock Purdy's top target, even despite how talented George Kittle and Deebo Samuel are on that offense. So I like Ayuk to have another big performance, still not getting the respect that he deserves as far as the bookmaker and odds makers are concerned. So I like Brandon Ayuk quite a bit. And this Rams offense completely was shocking. Seeing Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua combined for over 250 receiving yards. No Cooper Kupp, no problem. Nacua, though, however, appears to be questionable. A game-time call. That would be a big blow to this Rams offense, already down Cooper Kupp. So something interesting to pay attention to here as we approach kickoff.
Listen to all that information. I will ask you all at home just one time. Do you want to do the work? I didn't think so. Now, 2 more. 4:25 Eastern time today. RJ White, he's on the Cowboys team total under 23.5 plus 100, feeding into the good Jets defense. But our 5-tool player, my man AB, you love yourselves a little Dallas Cowboys, and I've got a Chick-fil-A nugget for you, sir. Did you know the last team to start the year or start a season with back-to-back shutouts was the 1945 Rams? The Cowboys have a chance to do that today. If you saw our little, you and I love doing those Madden sim videos we're so good at. 24-0 is what Madden predicted. What's your thoughts, AB?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Well, first off, let me say it's tough for me to do those videos, like what you said, in some sort of comparison, considering you're on the game. All right, so let's just get that one out of the way. But I'll say this. The narrative here is that the Jets backup quarterback, Zach Wilson, comes in, saves the day. He's going to turn this thing around. It's his time. The Jets defense, they're for real. The Cowboys, it was all defense against the Giants. Offense didn't do anything, right? That's the narrative. Throw that in the garbage. I don't want anything to do with it. This Cowboys defense is better than the Jets defense, and when it pins its ears back, it is disgustingly difficult to deal with. And you're coupling that with a Jets team riding high on the road with a Cowboys offense that has something to prove, that's heard all week that they suck. It's all the defense. Dude, Cowboys minus 8.5. This is going to be a disaster for Zach Wilson. It's going to be a nightmare. I tried to take him in interceptions. It's minus 220.
That is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Here's a public service announcement. Don't play any prop at minus 220. I don't care what it is. I do not care what. Never play a prop at 220. Now, prop E, let me come to you because I don't know. And AB is absolutely right. I don't know if I've ever seen a team win by 40, and there's such a negative storyline coming out because of their offense. So when you couple that with the fact great defense and the offense wants to get off today, it could be really, really ugly for the Jets.
I just think points are going to be hard to come by personally in this matchup. Again, this Cowboys defense, absolutely phenomenal week one performance. This Jets defense is incredible too. I think both of these teams could be the two best defenses on paper. Certainly both of them top five, certainly two of the best secondaries in the league. So I think we're going to see a very conservative game plan from both teams, a lot of rushing volume as a result, low scoring affair, in my opinion. I think 8.5 points is a lot, even against a Zach Wilson-led team personally. We know how conservative Mike McCarthy is as a coach. No Brandon Cooks today, the Cowboys' number 2 pass catcher. I think we see a lot of Tony Pollard, and I think the Jets offensively will go out of their way to limit Zach Wilson's passing volume, really protect him. The way you protect him is by running the football. We'll see a lot of Dalvin Cook, and we'll see a lot of Breece Hall.
Oh, Coach, real quick. If anybody ever wanted to play a punts prop,
this is the game.
Over 8.5 punts. My God.
Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Over 8.5?
That's what it was about an hour ago. I'm not sure what it is now, but if you ever wanted to play a game with punts, this could be your game.
I love when people can play a punt. Why would I play? Because it cashes at the pay window. By the way, Breece Hall over 38.5 rushing yards. Proppy, go.
I like it quite a bit. I was incredibly impressed with the week one performance. Looks to be completely over the ACL injury, incredibly dynamic. We know he's going to be on a bit of a snap count, but he takes one touch. That is all it takes with Breece Hall. Talked about Jahmyr Gibbs. This would be the closest comparison, in my opinion. Just an incredible ability to accelerate. He is a big play waiting to happen every time he touches the ball. Love Breece Hall.
I love Proppy in the NFL. I mean, I watch all the different shows, and my man has got it covered top to bottom, left to right. One more game at 4:25. Then we're going to enjoy all the games. We'll be right back here live tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, going 6 wide. So this one, and I had some people come at me on Twitter about this when I simply said the Broncos looked the same as they did last year. Oh, no, Coach. Russell Wilson looked amazing. It was everybody else. 177 yards passing. I don't care what NFL quarterback you're talking. That's not amazing. That's not amazing. That's average at best. But they're still favored today, probably by 3.5. Your Uncle Dave is on Javonte Williams under 48.5 rushing yards for the Broncos. They've got kind of a 2 or 3-headed monster there. The Commanders, they've got some positive vibes going. They had a nice little comeback last week. So at 38.5, that's the total. Broncos 3.5. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Coach, I don't bet a lot of sides and totals, but I'm not sure the Denver Broncos deserve to be 3.5-point favorites over anyone, especially a team like the Commanders that has a great defense. I think the Commanders' defense might be the best unit if we look at the 4 units in this game, offense, defense on both teams. This Commanders' defense looks very good, played very good in week one. I think they're going to have a lot of success against Russell Wilson. 3.5 points is a lot and what projects to be a very close game, in my opinion. I was fairly really encouraged by Sam Howell. Again, that Arizona Cardinals defense is not the pushover that we thought it was. So I think he can have a better performance than we saw in week 1 against Denver's defense, which is solid. And I fully agree with you, Coach. Russell Wilson did not look like the Russell Wilson that was a perennial MVP candidate in Seattle. Looked a lot more like the Russell Wilson that we saw last year. From an efficiency standpoint, yeah, his completion percentage was good, but took 0 chances, did not throw the ball down the field whatsoever. Now he faces a very good Commanders secondary with playmakers all over the field. It's going to be a tough day for Russ against this Commanders defense, in my opinion. I like going with Washington, especially getting 3.5 points.
I agree with you. I may buy it up to 4 depending on what the juice is. By the way, AB, I'm coming to you. But Jonathan says, Proppy, Breece Hall is now up to 40.5. You move lines is what you do. What would you play it up to?
I'm comfortable with it at 40.5. I'd also look at his longest rush prop as well. I think the number is either 12.5 or 13.5. I prefer that a little bit more than his raw yards just because of his big playability.
All right, very good. AB, let me come over to you because we have 6 minutes until the top of the hour. People got to get situated. What's your final take on this game?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I have no final take because we always say that the Early Edge crew is absolutely as big and large a part of this show as we are, and Justin nicely says it way better than I could have. Every single sharp tout, etc., has picked the Broncos. Broncos money has been crushing the spread all week. 0 line movement. It's smelly. It's stinky. Commanders are the pick plus 3.5. Justin, you know what? Completely agree, sir. Completely agree.
Shout out, Justin.
And we'll end it on that. But you guys know I like to end every one of my specialty shows asking my guys, my crew, my experts, what's the number one? And as we look at the best bets, thing they're looking forward to for today. AB, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm looking to see, which teams lost in week 1 and how they bounce back, i.e. the Chicago Bears. What do they look like this week, right? You take a look at, just across the league. That's really my big takeaway is just seeing the difference week 1 to week 2. Chiefs as well.
No, absolutely. Probably.
Yeah, no shortage of fascinating matchups across the slate today, guys. I'll be paying close attention to how these touches are allocated, whether it's backfield, whether it's wide receiver snaps, especially when we're looking at young players, because that information that we gather today can really help us going forward. So that's something I'll be keeping a very close eye on.
100%. Listen to what Proppy says. Pay attention to how many teams are using 2 or 3 running backs or 4 or 5 receivers, spreading it around like the Chiefs do. We rarely play a Chiefs receiver prop because he's got 10 that he'll throw it to. So that matters. That matters. So pay attention to my guys and really pay attention to what's going on in each game that you are watching today. A gentle reminder, we will be back tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on this very channel. 6 wide. Me, ECC, the whole crew. Dolphins and the Pats Sunday Night Football. I am here for it. But we've got to get to watching the game. So with all that being said, there's only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these Sunday tickets straight to the pay window. My entire crew, love them all. BetMGM, riding with us. AB, our 5-tool player, doing yeoman's work all the time, 7 days a week. Snake, our executive producer, always working behind the scenes. Proppy, our main prop master, always in the lab, always doing the work, 24/7. I am simply the coach, trying to keep this train on said track. We grind for you so we can win with you. Enjoy the games today. Enjoy them. It's fun. Let's cash some tickets. What we're all about right here. Early Edge. Good luck.